Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So happy to see you here, studying hard, learning all this good content. My name is Dr. Lopez, and I am so excited that you are here today. Now, I want to bring to your attention one thing. When it comes to study time, should be your study time. Can you watch these short little videos at your work? Yes, but it should never be counted as your study time per se. Why? You should be a you should be pay attention to this content. Everything here is high yield. It's likely that you might see something similar or on the same subject on your test day, right? When you pay for a conference, you are dedicating your full attention for these miserable 3 days, 8 hours a day, and you walk out of the conference not knowing a whole lot because you just got dumped a lot of information. And that's not the right way to learn. However, it's not the right way to learn to watch these videos while at work, right? You can and you should if you have some free time, but it should never be counted as your study time. When your study time should be the same time every single day, little by little, right? So if you do this effort every single day until test date, you are guaranteed success. Okay. We have a huge passing rate. So in order to accomplish the goal, you need to dedicate your time and attention to this lecture. Okay. So that being said, let's start with today. And today's module is a very important one. If you remember, module one, it will be about 33 questions. Module two will be about 41 questions or so, or I believe it's 27%. And now we have module three, 22% or 33 questions. So between module one, two, and three, that's where you get the most bang for your buck. Okay, so let's get started today. And today we are going to review diagnosis and treatments for the PMHNP Board certification. My name is Dr. Lopez, and let's get started with MP Exam Coach. So this is our roadmap. If you notice, small videos, high yield content all time so you can ace your PMHNP board certification. So today's subject it's about tolerance. So what is tolerance? Well, tolerance can refer to really anything, but specifically here would be towards a drug or alcohol. Imagine here more specifically, we're talking about medication tolerance or drug tolerance. Occurs when the body becomes accustomed to a medication, requiring either a higher dose of the same medication or switching to another medication to accomplish or at least to get some of of the effects that you first felt when you initially took the drug, right? So tolerance is needing more of the same substance to get the same punch or the same results as you first received the medication. So this is important. Why? You can see someone on SSRI, for example, and they have been doing well on Zoloft 50 milligrams, right? And doing so well, and a year and a half later, they come back to you and say, "Well, I'm depressed. If you're depressed, not going as good as before." Well, they likely to have developed a tolerance. It could be many other things, but a tolerance can happen to even the SSRIs or other drugs. So what do you to do? You increase the dose, and it's always advisable never to switch to another drug until you have maxed out that drug, as long as the initial dose had some good effect. Okay, so that's what's tolerance in a nutshell. So what's next here? Well, let's talk about kindling. Kindling, it's an important uh, term for you to know, right? So basically, our brain have a memory of what happened, right? So the neural membrane's threshold, that sensitivity dysfunction process lowers the seizure threshold. So in layman term, we are basically saying kindling is like the nervous system remembers the past withdrawals. Okay. And when it does, it has prior memory of the withdrawals and the damage that remains imprinted within the nervous system. So what happens next is the withdrawals becomes more dangerous or worse because of the nervous system recalls that it has been sensitized or damaged in prior withdrawals. Well, let me give you another silly example here, but it works so well for me. I used to be a parachuter, right? I jumped from airplanes and did some other good stuff in my previous years. And the first time I wasn't nervous. And remind me, the first time it's a live jump. There is no training jump. Okay, we trained for about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, getting our legs strong, running, and doing all the good stuff. But our first jump, it's a live jump. Okay, so I did my first jump. I was not nervous. Little did I know that descending, it was so strong, and I felt it on my legs, right? So the first time I wasn't nervous. Guess what? The second time I was nervous because I knew it was gonna hurt. Okay, so this much like that in a different context is kindling. So your brains remember what it was like to be in a withdrawal, and the seizure threshold has been lowered. Okay, and the one good example here is alcohol withdrawals because it lowers the seizure threshold when someone drinks consistently and they develop an addiction, they develop a tolerance, and they decide, hey, I am going to stop at drinking with no resources, cold turkey, stop drinking, then they could perhaps lower the seizure thresholds and they would be more likely to get a seizure. Okay. Remember that opioids withdrawals are nasty, but withdrawals from alcohol can kill. Okay. So it's dangerous. Okay. So we talked about tolerance and we talked about kindling. Now, the next on the list is addiction. Okay, so what's the difference? Well, let's learn the definition of addiction. Addiction is something that is chronic, is a chronic disorder of relapsing disorder characterized by compulsive drug seeking and use of it despite adverse consequence. For example, someone that drinks consistently receive the DUI and they continue to drink. Uh, the alcohol impacted their work and they continue to drink. The alcohol broke the house marriage and they continue to drink. So that is addiction, and it can happen with alcohol, cigarettes, opioids, or even cocaine, or in fact, any drugs that release the dopamine and have a pleasurable effect, right? Well, it can even happen to sugar, right? Some kids are totally addicted to sugar. And that's why, because it feels good. Anything that feels good, we want to get hold of it and we might become addicted to it. Some of the addictions are worse than others, right? But still, nevertheless, sugar can be addicting. Okay. Potency, right? So potency, it's all about the milligrams. It's all about how much of a milligram of one drug compares to another milligrams of the other drugs. Let's say 1 milligrams of a high potent drugs, for example, Haldol, it does the results compared to a higher or 10 milligrams of a clomazepine, chloropromazine. It requires a higher dose to achieve its results. So think of a high potency. Let me give you an example here. Quatapine, right? So I gave quatapine for a patient that I just couldn't sleep, and I would never do this in any other circumstance. But she had an underlying bipolar, right? Actually, oftentimes I wouldn't say make fun, but I do not like to give any antipsychotics as long as I have other option. But for this person specifically, I had to give it because she just had insomnia since 12 years old. And then she came back to me and said, for the last 35 years, I couldn't sleep. And this was the only thing that made me sleep. I feel calmer. I feel better. I feel more energized. Thank you so much. Right? So it's a small little pill, but it has a big punch. It was perfect for the patient with underlying of a bipolar disorder, right? So anyway, so that's high potency compared to low potency. These terms that we just went over, they are important and you should know them in the back of your head. Well, let's do a check on learning here. A patient has been diagnosed with panic disorder and agoraphobia. He is prescribed paroxetine, or better known as Praxil XR, 37.5 milligrams a day, and clonazepam or clonopin, zero point 0.5 milligrams daily as needed. Well, the patient has been taking clonazepam for 3 years and currently takes 4 pills to achieve the desired effect compared to when he first started taking the medication. Which of the following processes best describe this patient scenario? Is it one, kindling? Is it B, addiction? Is it C, tolerance? Or is it D, potency? Well, pause the video and pick your answer. Okay, if you said the answer is tolerance, you got it correct, right? And the rationale for the answer is that the tolerance best describes this scenario, as the patient requires a higher dose of clonazepam to achieve the same therapeutic effect compared to when he first started taken due to decrease in responsiveness over time. Now, take your time to read what is kindling, addiction, and potency. Remember, these four terms, they are important, and there is a chance that you might see them again on your board certification. And this is a quick video on tolerance, potency, and those other terms that I described. I'll see you